in some ways, you know, the blessing of being able to do West Wing and sort of create that world and be in that world kind of has led in some ways for me to do this show, without a doubt. That number one, balancing the world of politics with the world of human emotion. The whole idea of West Wing, and I think they share a lot of DNA, these two shows, but I think one of the ways is it was very important in this show that the scientists talk like scientists. Yeah. It wasn't that important that everyone understood everything the scientists were saying. Yeah. But if the audience was watching scientists who really sounded like scientists, weren't going, what about an atom? Maybe we should split that or something, you know? And that was sort of the golden rule in West Wing, was we never had to stop to explain to the audience what these people were talking about, because what they would feel is what was the relationship between those people. So when you were in Congress or you were in, you know, there were special relationships you had with certain people that started to shine. That became more important than the policy sometimes. And that's how these two shows in some ways relate. They're about very large issues. Very large issues. But our job is show the human side of those issues. Simple as that. Right. And that all the other stuff will fall into place if the audience is connecting to their relationship, right. Is connecting that Danny and John have had this other relationship. They seem like, okay, they're two brilliant scientists, but what is under that relationship? So the more I've been lucky, the more that I get to work with great actors like this and an incredible piece of writing, then you get to be this archaeologist and you're on the set and you just start to mine the human relationship. You're right. Not spending the time mining, is that the pi sign or is that the, you know, that we have advisors for that. You're mining, why are you in the scene? What do you want in this scene? What's your objective in this scene? And the more I get to do it, hopefully, whether I'm doing it better or not, I feel privileged that I get to add, you know, a piece of knowledge onto another piece of knowledge. Right. You know, so.
Right. Sam?
So yeah, I worked on the Showtime show Masters of Sex, which is a great privilege to work on that show created by a woman who's the best boss I've ever had, Michelle Ashford. And that was the second best job I've ever had. The only job that I would have ever left that job for was being able to work on this show with these guys. But I was hired to work on that show on the basis of a sample piece of writing, which was the script for the first episode of Manhattan. And I think those shows, in a oddball way, share some DNA too. I mean, they're both shows set in the middle of the century, and they're both shows that are about science in a way, and I think they're about a hazy place where issues of scientific inquiry and human life and morality and ethics and, you know, where those things kind of become confused and a sort of a place where some of the ethics of science become really complicated. There are also shows, I think, about people who are pushed out of their comfort zones because they're dealing with inquiry that has huge, huge, huge implications. So I loved working on that show. I also loved working on that show because it's I'm a kind of a research nerd. I love it's. I guess it's what you were talking about, John. I mean, it's a great pleasure of writing is to try to become as close to expert as you can be in a field that is not your own. I mean, I certainly am no nuclear physicist, but I feel really privileged to spend a lot of time reading about them. However, I am a sex researcher. No, I'm not a sex researcher either.